So St. Paul says, all this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. So we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We beg you, on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Working together with him, then, we entreat you not to accept the grace of God in vain. For he says, at the acceptable time I have listened to you and helped you on the day of salvation. Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. These are the words that we're going to hear to kick off the season of Lent, Ash Wednesday, in the second reading, and it's really a theme in a particular way, maybe especially in this year of mercy, for us to keep in mind. So in my mind, as we begin this season, there's 5 questions that are in my mind. 2 of them are questions that we ask those who are coming into the church at the beginning of what we call the RCIA process, the Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults, or what we call here Catholicism 101. And then we ask them again as we enter into the season of Lent, just to kind of help them stay focused a little bit. So the 2 questions would be these. What does it mean to be a Christian? And how do you become one? So what does it mean to be a Christian? Well, to be a Christian, maybe we could simply say, means to be a disciple of Jesus. And to be a disciple of Jesus means to be somebody who has responded to his invitation, come, deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. So a disciple is a student, a learner, somebody who has gone through the mental effort necessary to think something through. In this case, to think something through with regards to Jesus' invitation to me to come and follow him. How do you become one? Well, you can only become Christian in one way. You can't become Christian because your mom and dad were. You can't become a Christian because that's what everybody in the neighborhood is like. You can't even become a Christian only by baptism. Or baptism would be magic, and we don't believe in magic. The only way you can become a Christian is by conversion. That is, by making a decision to turn around. It means I used to walk this way, but I'm not walking this way anymore. Now I'm walking this way. Why am I walking this way? Because Jesus has broken into my life. I've encountered him, and now I'm following after him who has, as Paul says, become sin for me to save me from destruction. So one of the things that's on my mind in this season of Lent is we have to find a way to recapture a sense of urgency. See, we tend to think of Christianity as just an option. It's something that we happen to be. Like, I happen to be Italian, or I happen to be a Republican, or a Democrat, or an independent, or whatever the case. But to be a Christian isn't something that anybody can happen to be. It's not like a coat that you take on and that you take off. It is everything to us. Why? Because we owe everything to God. He gave me life, and he didn't just give me life, but he saved my life from what? From utter destruction. How did he do that? He did that by becoming man and then becoming sin. He took on himself all of my sin. And he took it all to the cross, and he crushed it. And in the process, he freed me. He has saved me from death, from hell, from meaninglessness, from futility. How do I appropriately thank somebody like that? So there's 3 more questions that are on my mind. Why do we do this? Like, why do we do Lent? Why do we take all this time? Is it just to, exercise some self-control, some discipline, to see what we can give up? Of course not. We hear that all the time. But why do we do it? Before we're going to do anything, it's important to know what's the purpose of this? What's the desired outcome of this season that we're about to enter into? And the desired outcome is really simple. It goes back to that other question. How do you become a Christian? The desired outcome is conversion. Greater conversion. Because I made a decision at a certain point in my life to begin to follow Jesus, but would that was enough. I have to make a decision every day to continue to follow Jesus. And so these last two questions might be helpful for us to think about during the season of Lent. What do I need to put down, and what do I need to take up? So as I think about my own conversion right now, about what it is that Jesus is asking of me, where I don't look like him, because conversion means to grow in conformity to the Master. If I'm the disciple and he's the Master, then I'm supposed to continually grow to look more like him. Goodness knows I have a long way to go, and anybody who knows me knows that. So what do I need to put down? What are those things in my life that just simply don't belong? Maybe they're habits, attitudes, little pet sins that we've just kind of given ourselves permission to have. Maybe they're big sins. What do I need to put down? And then what do I need to take up? Like St. Paul says in Colossians, put on then, as God's beloved, heartfelt compassion, kindness, gentleness. Do everything unto God with thanksgiving. Forgive as Jesus has forgiven us. It's this great passage. It's one of those passages that's worth just cutting out, putting on our bathroom mirror so we can see it every day, because it's written as if it's instructions for somebody of how to get dressed, if you will, in the morning. How to get dressed, not with clothes, but with attitudes, with dispositions, with intentionality. Like, okay, today I am going to be kind to who? Well, probably especially to my husband or to my wife or to my brother who's just got kicked out of a rehab center, who's going through hard times. So, in other words, as we enter into these tremendous days, we have to do them deliberately. If you and I get to Easter and, we just didn't eat chocolate, well, our skin's probably going to be a little bit healthier, but that's not really going to help. But if you and I get to Easter and we look more like Jesus, well then, not only is it going to change my life, it's going to change everybody's life around me, because it's going to have a ripple effect. So let's ask the Lord, help me to grow in conversion. Help me to think about those things that I need to put down, to take off, to get rid of. And help me to think about those things that you're asking me to pick up right now, to put on, to become new habits in my life, so that this incredible time of grace that we're entering into can be one in which you and I, as we look at Jesus on the cross, we're filled with an ever greater spirit of thanksgiving for what he's done, and we demonstrate that by striving to look ever more like him.